Good morning, everyone. It's Mind Over Matter Mondays. Come on in. Let us know where you're calling from. We've got a phenomenal conversation and dialogue for you to pour into and to be poured into. 𝕄𝕠𝕟𝕟𝕒 Galindo is my co-host. I'm Leslie Flowers, and we're excited you're here. A little music. I've decided that I'm going to educate you on the 50s music because you may never, ever hear it. And this is what I grew up listening to, and your parents did, and your grandparents. So it's not all Beatles. Anyway, this is one that I listened to. It's pretty innocuous and pretty sweet. That's how it was in the 50s. So come on in, everyone. We're so excited. Mind Over Matter Mondays. Gee, it's great after being out late, walking my baby back home. On and on over meadow and farm, walking my baby back home. We go along harmonizing a song, or I am reciting a poem. Owls go by and they give us the eye, walking my baby back home. We stop for a while, he gives me a smile, and I snuggle my head to his chest. We started to pet, and that's when I get my powder all over his vest. After I kind of strike my tie, he has to borrow my comb. One kiss, then I continue again, walking my baby back home. A little interlude. Oh, look here. Hi, Sharon and Mark, and of course, Nick, and Elizabeth, and Adrian, and Dennis. Yes, everybody connect with each other. This is 50s now. You got to know this music. Your parents listen to it. He's afraid of the dark, so we'll have to park right outside of her door. He says if I try to kiss her and not why, I dried her tears all through the night. Hand in hand to a barbecue stand, right from her doorway we roam. Eats and then it's a pleasure again, walking my baby, talking my baby, loving my baby, and I don't mean maybe, walking my baby back home. Yeah. That song, I totally messed up because I was trying to change the prepositions, right? So to me and him and all that business. But I grew up listening to that. My parents had a high fidelity, a hi-fi with the turntable with 33, 78, 45, those speeds. And these are the songs we listen to. So before they disappear and you don't know anything about them, I'll sing them for you because it brings me back to my childhood. And I love that. So good morning, everybody. Who have we got here? Nick, are we going to flash some names up on the screen, shall we? Am I to do that? Are you going to do that? Sharon is here. Wonderful coach. Sharon is here and a writer. Her son is also a writer. She's a best-selling author and a really good friend. Thank you, Sharon, for being here. Mark Dumar, consistent. I love the flowers and the applause. Hello. And there's Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a registered nurse, a certified hypnotherapist, and a multi-book author, lives up in Rhode Island and has a little pet named Toulouse. There's Adrian, who lives up in New England. What's the weather like up there, Adrian? Adrian is forever supporting these events. And it's always so wonderful, isn't it, Nick, to see her here? And there's Dennis Pitko. Dennis runs the 360 Biz Catalyst network of writers and nonprofits and publishing and events for changing mankind. Check him out. And my producer, she's pushing through. There's Aaron Gibson. Hey, Aaron, would you put the link to wherever this is live on LinkedIn? I do not understand, YouTube. I don't understand where the lives come in on YouTube, but I see the traces of them afterward. So I don't know what link to give people to watch these live. So thank you. Aaron knows everything about technology. And there's Lisa Fevick. She is our registered dietitian focusing on eating good foods during the menopause decades. However, eating good food all the time makes you feel better. Hi, Lisa. So glad you're here. There's Christy Williams, customer service representative, absolutely good friend of the 2350 network and constantly supports everyone. Actually, she's going to be on Jack's, I think tonight. It's tonight. There's Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Sandra is a #1 best-selling international author with her first solo book, if I have that correct. And she's also done an 8-minute talk on stage. There's 2 goals she had, knocked them right out. Congratulations. And there's Sharon Rose. Watch her comments. Sharon, thank you for always putting in your wonderful insightful comments, because when I go back, I don't always respond now, but when I do go back, I notice that you're pretty consistent with this. Those comments are the incentive and the inspiration for posts. Those are good enough. Oh, look. Okay, it's a beautiful morning today. Okay, so, oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling.
Everything's going my way. Good morning. So
hey, there's Queen
everyone.
Yeah, good morning, Meryl. So good to see you. Yes, I had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for asking, and I'm so glad you're here. Oh, you're a certified public speaker. Excellent. And author. Well, my goodness, you better get those hats ready, right? Because you got to change those hats depending on what you're doing. I love it. Congratulations, Sandra. That's wonderful. All right. Good morning, Nick. How are you? And how was your weekend? And what's up for you?
I am good. I am good. Happy to face another week. I had a very busy weekend. Co-author meetups, Saturday and Sunday, 2-hour Zooms. Just plodding along to that book launch on the 1st. We choose to be more than our diagnoses, and just fun times. Oh, and Nick Never in Control kicked off on Saturday night again. So that was exciting because I hadn't done it in about 6 weeks. So thank you so much, because so many of you in the audience were there. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And my weekend entailed 2 long walks, 2 of them for fresh air. But what you must know is that I'm riding on my beautiful scooter, right? Because I had a foot problem. And now what I've noticed, I have to tell you, this is so wonderful, you guys, an unexpected something. So, my kids, you may not know this, but they've both been married for over 20 years, 2 kids. The kids are all in their late teens, driving. Everything is wonderful. 2 are in college, 2 are going to be seniors this year. Life is pretty darn good. So, but over the last 4 or 5 years, as they began to get their driver's licenses, they didn't need Uber Nana anymore. Uber Nana is the Nana who takes them to music, to dance, to baseball games, all 4 of them are in at least 2 or 3 things. So I missed all of that. Well, now that I can't walk that far, my son and his family walk with me twice every weekend, and we talk. And my son and I went yesterday. We had an hour walk. We talked about everything, about politics and the world and family and business. And that was just so wonderful. It's like when I have a call with you, or I pick up the phone and call you, Nick, or I call Elizabeth, or sometimes I'll even call Aaron, although he's so busy. He's usually teaching or driving, one of the two. Okay. So I had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for asking, Meryl, and for sharing yours. I'm so glad you're all here. And today, Nick and I have talked about this. Today, this is the third part of really looking at where we are in emotional intelligence. Okay, where are we? Not right, wrong, good or bad, but kind of where do we land? Now, we've learned in the first week that in business, it's different where our emotional awareness is, our level is, than family. So the first week, and I'll go through this very quickly because we're getting into a new model today. And this will be the third time I've explained this to you. And more if you have watched the videos, and we learn through repetition. So these concepts are extremely powerful, but you must hear them several times, and then they eventually embed, if you will, and you get it. Like out of confusion comes over, oh, I get it now. Then you can begin to explain it to other people and to yourself. So learning is one thing, but absorbing it to the point where you could actually explain it to somebody else is pretty significant. The reason I acknowledge all of you is because you are my family. I'm only on LinkedIn, really, and my immediate family. I don't spread myself thin like I used to do. I really relish my time alone and focused with this community and my family community. I was different, but now I'm this way. Okay, so the first week we looked at family. Oh, hey, Charles, I hope you'll come up on stage. You're going to love this. At about 10:40 in the comments is the link to come into the studio. Look, what we're looking at today is where are we in emotional intelligence, and simply how do we meet people where they are. And where we are in emotional intelligence changes from the different areas of life. Guten Morgen, wie geht es Ihnen, Charles? So the first week we looked at business, right? So if we have somebody in our business that is having a problem, we can capture where our level of emotional awareness is, our responsiveness and our objectivity, right? But at home last week, we talked about family where it's not so easy because we get sucked into the lower levels. All right. And then today we're going to look at the performance gap. This has a lot to do with why we don't do what we know to do. This is a deeper dive into our mind, right? So when you're ready for this, you'll know. And you listen to it over and over and over again. I will tell you, one of the models that I teach, it took me 20 times to even get it. And it's so simple. And my unique ability that I've been told many times is the ability to articulate complex concepts in simple form. And I have worked for years to teach at 4th grade level, to bring everything down to the simplest form. There was a time when I did all the words. My comments were this long, right? I just had a lot to say, and I still do. But what I know from learning myself is the simpler, the better. And even then, I get very confused, right? Because it doesn't all make sense to me. So it needs processing. I need to hear it again. I'm going to go back and listen to Jen Lynn's special and Jen with Heart that she had. She has them Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And this was a very unique concept. She is unique, right?
That's at 6. Sorry.
Oh, 6 p.m. Thank you. No. Hey, Michael. So good to see you, Mr. Texas. You're in Houston or Dallas, Texas. So good to see you, Michael. All right, ready? Let's see what time it is. Okay, that's right. This is the Monday. We have a little time. All right. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to review really quickly. And then Nick, interrupt me if I need to say something more clear, one of the distinctions that you've gotten, so I'll speak in a way where there's actually room for you to take a breath. I'll take a breath so you can fit something in here. Okay, ready? All right, let's bring it up here. Here we go. You've seen this before. I'm going to go through it again. These are the 7. This is a model that when we learn through graphic images, music, videos, it's better when we learn with more than one of our senses, if we can. So these are the 7 levels of awareness or emotional intelligence. And each one of these can be different for each area of life. Business, you might be in one area, and family, you might be at a lower level. In education, we don't know where you are. It just depends on what community you're in. So the first week we did business. Last week we did family. People's responses were very different. They were not on the same level of awareness at home when families get together and discuss and argue, right? Than in business when we're at a higher level of awareness and we can maintain it. All right, so let me just show you this really quick, and Nick's going to interrupt. So whether you're looking at business or home, it doesn't matter, but business is usually my default. So the first level, look on the left, we want to go from reactive and subjective, which is based on our fears, like we're not thinking at all. We are in fight or flight. We're reacting. This is a good one for family. I don't know whether it's Adrian that said that last week, but it can look that way in the family, right? So when you're down here on the lower level, you are not thinking, and you don't know that there are any levels above there, and you are reactive and subjective. You're like an animal in that you're reacting based on past fears. Nothing wrong with this. Consider that this is a way of looking at how we process the way we think so that we can see distinctions. For example, there's a huge distinction between reactive and responsive. You get that. One is emotional and the other one is a feeling. Most people don't know the distinction. They also don't know the distinction between mind and brain. When you're ready, you will find out the distinction. So, animal doesn't know anything above, gets very few ideas, and is in fight or flight. You cut me off, I'm going to flip you the bird. I'm going to cut you off in the next lane. I do know what that feels like, okay? To tell you, because we don't stay on one level. We fluctuate. Okay, now here's the second level. Now notice we're moving up on the left, moving toward being responsive and objective, toward being thoughtful. When you're at the lower level, you're not thoughtful at all. Now, the next level up is following the crowd. It's not really thinking either. You do know what's going on in the animal area because you were there, but you don't know of anything above you. There's a limit there. There's a ceiling there. So now you're busy following the crowd. You're not thinking, what do you think? What do you think? What if I do this? What if I do this? This gets you into analysis paralysis. I'm taking a breath. Nick?
You're taking a breath. You're so cute. Well, I'm not going to throw it up and I'm going to jump in just yet because I don't want to put up any comments and block anything. But I want to just say, hi, Joni. Welcome. Joni had a lot to say the first time around about the personal. We missed you last week.
Yes.
But it was a holiday, so that really threw people off.
You're forgiven. Oh, and Mariana's here too, and Ashiv. Oh my goodness.
Hi, Omar, as well, and Marjana.
Oh, and Omar's here too. Oh, yay.
I just want to make sure I got a chance to say hello.
Excellent. No, do it. That's why look, she's not just my co-host. She's in the studio, so she is able to work. The two of us, well, I learned from her in Aaron's shows.
We learn from each other.
Yeah. But I learned how to do it for Aaron's show and did that for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. It was so much fun, but it takes a little doing to manage these shows the way you would like them to be. All right. So now you see we're still down here on the lower. Now the next thing that comes up is aspiration. Now these little clouds, I'm just going to tell you, they represent all ideas in the world and they're all in the ether. All ideas are already here. They flow from the ether to form in the form of thought energy, an idea. And then what we do, thinking consistently, visualizing, focusing in spaced intervals over time, repeatedly, feeling good, is what causes the manifestation, the thought energy to change to physical matter. It's alchemy in its simplest form. We do it. You have to have a conscious mind to do it. Animals don't do this. And if you don't know how to do this, then your results are haphazard or sporadic. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Once you understand that you are really responsible for what you're thinking, and when you get clear on these distinctions, you get to the point with practice and also with this visual image of being more responsive and objective. So aspiration is big. Oh yeah, these are all ideas. Okay, so aspiration, this is the desire. This is the wake up moment that we've all had, certainly in business, to be, do, or have more. Is this all there is? Right? So in aspiration, you certainly remember when you were an animal, and you certainly remember when you asked everybody's opinion and didn't pay attention to your own opinion or those opinions of a few specialized people with specialized knowledge, their opinions, just listening to what everybody says. But at this point now, you're nearly halfway toward being responsive and objective as much as possible. You are now aspiring to do this. Now look at, there's more ideas that come to you, the more open you are, and the more responsive and thoughtful and consciously aware of what's going on, even your own fears and emotions, the more room there is for ideas. You see, nature abhors a vacuum, which you've heard before, and the negative thoughts dominate our conscious mind. So how are we going to outweigh those negative thoughts? We have to be able to do that, and that is what this is. This is strengthening the muscle, all the muscles of conscious awareness, of which there are 6. Perception, imagination, intuition, memory, reason, and will. All of those things are developed like muscles. So when you can catch yourself being fearful and just acknowledge it, you're already moving up the ladder. So all of you have been here, but it's really hard in the family because you can get sucked back down into animal easily. Let your vibe be a product of your heart, not your environment. Thank you, Ashif. Ashif's up in Toronto, one of my favorite friends, supportive. All of you are, really. All right, let's go on. Okay, now, this is the most important point. We're looking at business, but notice that in family, you may have a hard time to step away from the crowd, to not be sucked in by the family drama. And this is where we separate the men from the boys and the women from the girls. This is where the consciously aware will step away from the crowd. Their past aspiration, oh, I want to dream and I want to do this. They're actually willing to step out into their fear for many reasons. But look where they are. They're moving closer and closer to responsive and objective. That means your mind is not filled with fear, which is a low cellular vibration. It feels bad. And that's not our natural way. So the more that we can catch this and replace it using the law of polarity with its exact opposite, just remind yourself, for every up, there's a down. For every failure, there's a win. But we were taught that failure is failing, period. But we know now that failure is learning. But we believe still that failure is not learning because our fears have been installed for years. I'm going to take another breath.
Oh my goodness, you're so cute. I'm listening. I know you're doing an overview, and I know everybody's eager to get to the next slide.
Right. I just want to make sure that because sometimes things bubble up. I'm sorry, I'm hurrying up. Well, I apologize.
I'm not hurrying you. I'm saying that I know that everybody's like, the last 2 shows are so good. I know everybody's gonna have a lot to say
Yes,
to
yes.
see
Yeah, I got to
in the
get
next
going.
step.
You're right. You're right. You get to talk first after I get through this. Okay. So this is big right here. When you're willing to step away from the crowd, step into your fears, step through your fears, do it anyway. That's big. And you're all there and you've been there. You don't stay there, but you've been there in business, maybe not so much in family. So understand that depending on the environment, the matter in mind over matter that you're dealing with, you may be in a different place. Okay. The next one, now we're really cooking. Right? This is discipline. We're getting closer to responsive and objective. This is where the ability to give yourself a command and doing it. Going to the gym, even though you really don't want to. Okay. It's for me, discipline and persistence and integrity all belong together. But notice where you're going. Okay. So now you're moving into some rare air because very few people, maybe a handful out of 100, ever get up to these upper levels with consistency. They've been there, but this is where we dominate. Okay, then we go into level 6, which is experience. So you've stepped away from the crowd. You've had the discipline to study your discipline. You're really good at the discipline to study your discipline. Now I'm in experience. Now learning through experience. So I learned enough and it assimilated enough that I could teach you. And I love doing that. That is learning through experience. Okay. It's a very high level. Look where you are. And then you're at mastery. Now, we all achieve it. It's kind of like running through the hallway when you were a kid. You remember when you were little, you would jump to reach the door jamb, and then every year you get closer and closer. And finally your fingertips would catch it. And finally you could actually hold on for a second. That's mastery. Nobody sits on these levels. They're not permanent. Well, you fashionably late is absolutely acceptable. So you've been here. Discipline strengthens willpower. Absolutely. And willpower is one of your 6 mental muscles. Focus and will, right? Number 4 is a big difference. Stepping away from the crowd requires willpower because it means resisting pressure, uncertainty, and the fear of standing out alone. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, here's the important thing about what's going on here. You see, the way I explain it may not resonate with you today. It may not. And then Nick is going to share something. And then Charles shares something. And then someone else shares something. But what they say, the way they say it resonates better with you. That's why we have to hear this. There's nothing new. None of this is new. None of it. It's been around since recorded history, 5,000 years. In every text, you'll find it everywhere. There's nothing new, but it's how we conceptualize it and teach it and then apply it in our lives. And so this actually works very well. All right, ready? All right, Nick, anything you want to say before we jump into the next model? Is that a no?
Yes, that's a no. Go. Yeah, no, move ahead. I mean,
Okay. So this is the whole thing, right? And you don't sit on it, but remember, all ideas are here. The more clear and responsive and objective you are, the more ideas you'll get from the universe. The universe will not give you a wonderful, simple idea when you're worried about X, Y, and Z. There's no room. Okay. The performance gap. I created this in 2014 for us to understand visually, and it's in my bestseller, Champion, which was my first bestseller on Amazon. Yeah, that's my first. Other than, no, it's the first bestseller. Okay, so here's the deal. Why don't we do what we know to do? And even more, why don't we do what we don't know how to do? Well, what we don't know how to do is pretty easy, right? Because we don't know how. But what if I were to tell you that you're not supposed to know how? This is one of the 12 laws of achievement. When you set a goal and you want something very, very much, if you already knew how to do it, you would have done it. You must not know how. And if you think about why, that will bring up, You must not know how. You must focus on why. When you focus on how am I going to do it if I've never done it, it brings up fear, doesn't it? So focus on why you want it, but that you've never done it or you failed at it. So you're going at it again, but you're going to complete it. So here we are on the right-hand side. This represents all the stuff we know. We know stuff. Now, when we go to do, you see that there's a chasm there where all of our fears are. There are 6 basic fears: fear of criticism and judgment, fear of poverty, fear of illness, old age, loss of love, death. So regardless of what it is you're going to do, one of those fears will be stronger than any idea you have. Now, what I've done in this model is jammed in a very thick gold coin in between the gap to temporarily, visually block out all fears. See, when it's not in the picture, you won't think about it. And then what you will do is step up from knowing onto the edge of the coin. Now, I want you to know that it's a thick coin, because when you slip off, you need to be able to grab and pull yourself back up. This happens in just a few moments. So you step up on the edge of the coin. Now, you're unaware of fear. Fear is not part of the picture. It doesn't matter about money, health, who you love, what people say about you. None of that matters because it's not in the picture. When you get up there on the edge, you're in the dragonfly thinking area. Have you ever watched dragonflies and hummingbirds? They are prey, P-R-E-Y. So they are always observing everything that's going on around them as they feed and as they fly. When we are up here in what I call the power of pause, people look at this different ways, but it's a moment when fear is not there and you're present. Now you want to go and do something and you know some things about it. When you're up there, you have access to many ideas and many solutions, not just the one that you initially had. I can do it this way. But when you get up there, there's nothing inhibiting your thinking. And you're up there where the air is rare and you start getting a lot of solutions. Then you choose your one, step right down, and you're in the doing. Let's see here. Everyone fluctuates. I've never been in the Dalai Lama's presence, but I was with Sahaj gurus and I witnessed him descend into lower levels live because every event participants were not honoring his no photos request in live sessions. Oh, interesting. Yes, that's right. Even the masters are human. Well, here's the thing. The only person who probably dominates, thank you, Elizabeth, who probably dominates mastery is the Dalai Lama, right? But even then, nobody lives there because we have a conscious and subconscious mind. What we have is the agility, the thinking agility to head off the fear in favor of faith. Or fear is there you are, present to fear and can move through it, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Absolutely. And that requires that you have such a compelling desire to do this thing that you will step through your fears. All right, Nick, your time. What are you seeing?
Oh my goodness.
Or should I go on to the next slide?
No, stay here a second. So,
Okay.
First of all, loving all the comments.
Yes.
And when I think about this, I think definitely that, we've taken it from the standpoint of business and family. So I'm going to think about it that way. The family being the personal side. So knowing and doing. I think it's important for us to do the things that we know how to do sometimes because we need to have those small wins and remind ourselves that we know how to do this, so we did it and we feel good. Like Leslie always talks about, raising our vibration. Now, I think when you're in a high vibration, you are more likely to face that fear, as Charles said in his comment, because you are in a space where you're like, okay, well, I just did this thing. I know how to do it. And I've done it before, and I've done it repetitively and succeeded. So now I'm going to go try that thing that I don't know how to do. Um, you know, it's not easy, for sure, to put yourself at the end of it all. Like, it starts with a vision, but it's funny because the end to me is visualizing, and it's tied. So I feel like if you have the vision, then the other parts not fall into place, but you start to see what's necessary. What are the things you need in order to realize that vision? But you also have to go all the way to the end too and visualize it having happened, because then you will also work backward. So, and you'll end up meeting somewhere in the middle, or wherever it is you have to meet, because some of the steps that you things that you don't know, and the things that you don't know how to do, you would be surprised, because there's so many steps between the vision and the visualization and of the actual manifestation that you might be thinking, I don't know how to do this at the beginning. But as you see both sides, you will find little spots in between that, oh, wait, I knew how to do that. And that's going to bring me from this thing that I don't know how to do to the next thing that I don't know how to do. But because I have that little tie in between. So, like this past week, I shared a post, and it was the truth. I didn't realize how much in business that I already know how to do until it hit me that I needed to do it. And that was going into a space, uh, I wouldn't say from fear, but the not knowing part, right? Um, and until I started to open myself and say, well, you're going to do this thing no matter what, whether you know how to do it or not. And as I started doing it, that's when I realized, wait a minute, there's transferable skills. There's transferable experiences that I've had. There are people that I could ask questions to who've been here. And I realized I know how to do half of this stuff to get there. So why was I even stressing it in the beginning? So even if you're not doing the actual doing part yet, walk yourself through it in your mind. And you will realize if there were 10 things you thought you couldn't do, there are a few other things out of that 10 that you actually can do. That's, for me,
That's
what's coming up.
really, really excellent. And, the only thing that I would add to what you said, because you're really getting these concepts, is that, to coin a phrase, we are cause in the matter of our lives. So we want to remember that our vibration and the law of vibration will attract the people to us required to give us those answers. So you're actually the source of people and opportunities showing up with those answers without your asking. We look at that as a coincidence, but it really isn't a coincidence. We just don't understand quite yet how perhaps that works. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work. There's enough evidence to know. And, so your observation is a very high level of awareness of what is possible. You see, all the answers are also here. And what we want, the answers we're looking for, right, to fill in what we don't know. Oh, for goodness sake. Sorry for that. Remember that we are co-creators. We don't do anything alone. Our conscious mind is connected to the universe through intuition and imagination. It is the consistent visualization of your vision of the thing you want, the reason you want it, the impact it will make on others, the why you wanted to do it in the first place. That vibration is what will help manifest what you want. So we have to think the positive thing that we want, visualize it as though we already have it, because it will drive our cellular amplitude of vibration up. That is how, as co-creators, the universe knows what to send us. If we are thinking miserable thoughts, we may run into people that are also thinking miserable thoughts. But the reverse also works all the time. So the way we're thinking and about what we're thinking causes our results because we have a partner. So none of us are perfect, right? None of us are perfect at this, but we aspire to be able to catch the negative thought, that lousy feeling. You see, mind is an activity. It is not the brain. The brain is an organ. The mind is a cellular activity. Both Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief, and James Brody, Virus of the Mind, scientists who have tracked the proteins in our cells when we're in high vibration, love, happiness. What happens with those proteins? They all move in unison together. You've got a spring in your step. You got bumps on your arms. They've also tracked the opposite. When you're in a funk, all the proteins, the vibration, the amplitude slows down, and that is not how we were built. This is what puts us into disease. Diseases come from what we're thinking primarily. You could say that other people had COVID and that's why I got it. But I would simply throw this out there. What about the physicians that for years have been going into countries that have Ebola and these terrible diseases and they don't get it? How come?
I have to say, Charles put a comment there, that I am just dying. I started laughing. I'm sorry if I was mute, but you saw me laughing on camera. I wasn't laughing because I'm crazy. I mean, I am crazy, but I want to put that comment up in one sec, but I just wanted to share a couple of the comments before there's so many coming in. So Sandra says, so true. I love that reframing of failure.
Yes.
When we're willing to fail and don't even worry about it, the reward is learn so much, learning and growing. And then Charles is right. Vision will help you answer the why.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain why just now and exactly what happened to me, or keep you focused on the why. I love that.
Yeah, the why is the compelling reason you're doing the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Sharon Rose says the vision is a powerful force, especially when we live it from the end. Neville Goddard talks about that a lot. I'm not sure who that is, and not to worry about how. Right. And she's right on this law of vibration and assumption. When you are low, you start to assume things.
Well, I'm not familiar with assumption. Those are not, that word does not show up. Hey, Jeremy, I've never seen it show up with the 7 universal laws. That is someone else's tailoring, hybridizing that universal law, likely. But
this is what cracked me up.
Oh.
Come on, guys. Phone rings. Leslie stumbles down from Mass Street. Charles Caldwell, you are hilarious. You made me start laughing and look like a crazy person on live. Thank you so much. And I just want to say a quick hi to Leah and as well as Tracy. Hi. Hi, ladies.
Hi. Hi.
Okay.
All right.
You go ahead, and then I'm going to share something that completely backs up a lot of what you're saying.
Okay, wait 1 second. We've got one more slide, but no, wait 1 second. Now you can come on into the studio now. So the link is in the comments and it's also here, although I know you can't get it, but I still have one more slide to show you. But go ahead, please, please. I'm dying to hear what you have to say.
Oh,
You.
so we're talking about visualization, vision, manifesting, and sometimes you could be in a show like this and we're talking about it, and maybe you don't necessarily see this happening in your life. A lot of it is being in tuned to what is happening before you can recognize the patterns of it happening. And so I'm sorry, I'm not promoting my book here. I can only talk to this because this is the project I'm working on right now. But I know that I want live show appearances for myself and the co-authors to help promote. I know I'm pushing out through my show, and I know there are a handful of co-authors in the project that have live shows, which I've already addressed all of them. I stopped to think about people that I know that have live shows, right? I'm in that headspace. Well, I get a message from one host that I'm not even thinking of inviting us on, right? And then last night I get an invite to be on a show today, which I can't be, from someone I'm connected to, but we haven't spoken to in a while, right? And then I get another invitation this morning to have myself on the courses on another show. Toward the end of last night, I was looking at my list going, 6, 7, I need some more shows than that. I'd really like to hit 10. I started stressing a little bit. And then I went, what's wrong with you? You have shows in June and July. A couple of people are reaching out. Focus on what you have now and coordinate that. And 3 more people between last night and this morning, like I just told you, reached out. I didn't reach out to them.
That is the example of what you want is moving toward you at the same amplitude of vibration you're moving toward it. You've started momentum. These things are working all the time. And so that's exactly what happens. It's top of mind for you. You're visualizing, you're excited about it. You have a big reason why. Hey, Lay, that's beautiful. So that is how you know there are no coincidences. Most people would say, oh, what a coincidence. I was just thinking about wanting to be on a show, right? Well, this is where emotional intelligence comes in. Excellent. Excellent, Lee. You can reach out to me anytime. Just come to these. But next week? No, next week we do the subconscious mind and Think and Grow Rich. And then the one after that is the 6 ghosts of fear. Listen, we are all dominated by fear. 95% of our thinking is not thinking. It's reacting based on negative experiences. But look what Nick has shown you. That once you're in momentum toward that thing with a big Y and you're excited about it and you have a high vibration, visualization is the DNA of manifestation. So you begin to visualize yourself on the set, in the studio, with your authors. It jacks up your cellular vibration. Your partner in crime, which is God and the universe, says, oh, well, she's feeling really good and she really wants this. So basically, through the law of vibration, you're attracting people at that level of awareness. And because all ideas are already here, they're not in our heads. They're floating from form of thought energy through form, us with conscious awareness, back into form, physical matter. So this is happening all the time. So you're just a little firecracker is what you are.
I want to say hi to Nora. I wouldn't say necessarily a firecracker, but most times our examples can only be ones that mostly are our personal experiences and maybe something that we observed recently. So I say that because I had 10 in my head and I have 8 of 10 slots now to be on different shows. And
And
yes,
sometimes, and that's really good. And you remind me of, what was it, last week or the week before, in Chase, in the fundraiser that you ran. This was really interesting. Nick and Jen Lynn and Aaron did a live show to raise $500 for TK Kitchens and a HR for You, a big organization helping children in a number of different ways, just to synthesize it. Now, they raised $1,000, and my thought was, you didn't make that goal big enough. You see, because why didn't you? Well, 500 is really nice and it's going to be matched. But that was my thought, was once they hit the 1,000, right, which means it would be doubled, I thought, well, they just didn't have a big enough goal. So next time, let's go for a bigger goal.
it's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Because you could have, it's just like you pick 10, you pick 10. When people come up with a particular, I've talked with 500 people.
I tried to pick a realistic goal, I think it was, Leslie, because I'm thinking this is the first fundraiser I did. So you see so many different thought processes to bring you to that point. And I was thinking 50 friends, $10. 10 is not terrible, and 50 friends is not
And
terrible.
that is relative based on your point of view and your perception, which may not be the same as everybody else's, but I totally get it. And there's a back door. Well, 500 will be easier. It should be easier than any bigger. What are we relating this to? We covered business and family already, but what are the other? Well, here we go. Thank you, Christine. This is the last piece. All right. This is where the two come together. Now, I want you to look at where individual is where you step away from the crowd. It maps to knowing and stepping up on the edge of the coin. So you're going to be in fear at these lower levels because reaction and being emotional and subjective permeates thinking at these lower levels, following the crowd, fight or flight, what do other people think? By the time you get to aspiration, this is where you want to do more, right? So you found that you're ready, and everybody decides when they're ready. Nobody else should say to you, you should be ready. Each of us knows when we're ready. We'll know. And then it is at that point when you can step away from the crowd that you will also be willing to step up on the edge of the coin. Now, the thing to really see here is when you get up here, you're at mastery. You have access, just like a dragonfly or a hummingbird, to everything at this level, all ideas. And the ones that resonate and vibrate with your intention are the ones you're going to see. That way you have a choice rather than just one thing. Oh my God, let me get up there and just do it one way. All of a sudden there's this huge freedom of, oh my God, as Nick said, there's more than one way to do this. Then you select your way. You're not aware of fear and you right into the doing. And then you do it again and again and again. So this is what we're doing today.
Yeah, I popped in that again only because Christine put in the comments and or come up. So we have discussed this before, and we've gone kind of slide by slide, and all the levels are there from animals through mastery, with different techniques of hitting each one of those. So if we hit family and we hit business, I want to hear from the audience, what other areas do you think that we could hit with this that is applicable to everything?
Is that what she means? I'm not exactly sure what her
well,
question.
It's like we are relating. What are we relating this to, right? Which is everything we're covering in the slides so we covered business and family already, but what other area is being covered today?
Well,
So
to me, to me, we're relating it to our own level of emotional awareness. The other areas are education, spirituality, religion, health and wellness,
workplace.
what else? Workplace, absolutely. Oh, please, workplace, right? So these, if that's what you meant, that's great. You can look at this in all those areas. The idea is to be your authentic self in all the areas. But you can see we've talked about this. To be authentically yourself in all these areas is quite a challenge, particularly in family. Who doesn't have the rut we get into with brothers and sisters at holidays, your drunk uncle who comes in and causes a scene, or somebody who likes to talk about politics and you don't want to talk about politics, right? So family dynamics are harder for me to stay at the same level of awareness where I am as in discipline and experience, because I don't have enough experience to manage the dysfunction in my family anymore.
So Chandra says, when one realizes most other people don't think, it's simple to stop looking outside self for validation. And Leigh says, oops, sorry. To be ourselves, take a delicate weaving of all the different aspects we are as humans. So
that's right.
Leslie, how do you feel about picking one of, just for the rest of the time, picking one of those things you hit on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you mentioned that this is applicable to outside of business and family, and deep diving with what we're learning here in one of those other areas outside of family and business.
Well, are you talking about giving an example of what it would be like? So in family, we have difficult people, right? And here's the whole idea. Yes. So the idea here is once you know where you are, then people who are on the lower level, the whole idea about this is to meet them where they are without getting sucked in to the drama of where they are. So this could be, well, business is if you have your own business, but let's say we did corporate, right?
Yeah, let's
So
do workplace and corporate. You know,
we
are you
can,
at that animal level of being reactive instead of being responsive? And if so, what does it take for you to get to the point of discipline where you are now responsive rather than reactive? And what does it take for you to get to the point of you've learned repetitively through your experience that you're not even disciplined anymore? It now becomes a conscious part of you or subconscious part of you. And then how do you get to mastery with it then? How do you get to mastery where no matter what's going on in the workplace, you know what level of emotional intelligence and awareness you are at, and nothing happening within the workforce, work environment, is going to topple you from that mastery?
okay, that was
lot.
good. That was good. So first of all, you never reach one level and stay there. Okay. So how you jumped from animal all the way up to how does a person get all the way up to discipline and mastery? You have to go through the levels. You have to practice. So in corporate, here's what happens. It is up to those who are in charge, hopefully the CEO, and it trickles on down with the companies I've worked with, that when a person is in a funk in an office, let's say you're the supervisor, and they're wallowing in something. Somebody said something, somebody did something, they are reacting, subjective, they're the victim, they're at the effect of someone else doing something. This is mind over matter. This is not using your mind. When that happens, you step down. This is about service. Step down to meet them where they are. You've been there. You know what it's like. But I will tell Charles that women wear red 4-inch spiked heels once we get up here. And that's what happened. I tripped and twisted my ankle falling off when the phone rang. You step down from where you are, holding the space of your level of awareness, and then listen to these people. All they really want is for someone to hear them. So you're not getting sucked in, but you step down and you say, okay, so tell me more about this. Well, this is happening and this is happening. Hey, Luce, and this is happening. And what you do from your level of awareness, even though you're down on animal and mass level with them, is repeat back to them, oh, so this happened and you misunderstood, or they misunderstood you and made a remark which upset you. Then the person will say, yes, but I forgot to tell you this. So then they're going to tell you something else. Let them finish and then repeat the whole thing back to them. Okay, I get it. So, because all they really want is for you to get them. They want someone to hear them. And that is how I do this with you and everybody here, right? I'm always making sure that you get, and then I get what you're saying. Like when that question came in with Christine.
She's here.
Right, I see. I didn't really understand. So what I would have asked, which I will ask, is to ask it again in another way. So these people that are in your work, that are at the lower level of awareness or the lower levels, and the matter is taking over, the fear is taking over. They're making everything, we're meaning making machines. Charles, that's for you. Humans have to make meaning out of everything. And it's based on our perception. And no two perceptions are the same. And they're always changing with new information. Yet we will dig our heels in to be right about anything. Yet our right is always changing. So that's a little confusing. That's how you have to do it. Somebody has to do that for you, Nick, to the point where you get it, where you start doing it for other people. Right? So you can do this very easily in family, even when it's difficult. It's harder, but you have to say, okay, tell me what happened. And they're going to go into their big thing. So that's true. It's what we do in sales. It's exactly what we do in sales. Before we close, we repeat back to the potential client exactly what we understand is their desire for this relationship. And if it isn't clear, they're going to tell you, and then you repeat it back again. Oh, I got it. Okay, so you also want us to include this. That's a really good point. You continue to repeat it until they know that you got them. So that's how someone does it for you once you get it and you do it for them. Hey, Joni, let me bring up our sweet girl here. Is this not being about being humble, diligent, curious, and empathetic, and also amassing? Absolutely. Well said. Of course it is. Yes, absolutely. That is what it's about. All right. Look who we have here. Miss Feedy, how's it going? Do you want this? Do you want this up here? Do you want, let me just see.
I don't care. That's
Do you want this? Are you speaking to either of these, or you just want to talk?
I guess I'll be brief because I can't be up here that long today. But yeah, I think that Nick answered what I meant. I wasn't sure where we were applying it to. However, I feel like I answered the question for business already because I talked about wanting the gold star and all that stuff, and trying to have more humility. But something did happen, and it's something I have to work on constantly. It's really annoying that I got to work on it constantly. But something did happen this past week where I felt like I'm the only one that understands this. And it really, and I think I might have been still, right? Or they just won't listen and see the big picture, or they don't bring to the table the same experiences that I have, that I can recognize these, and it's nobody's fault, but I can recognize these gaps and what needs to be fixed. But the good thing was, like, actually my boss sent me a message, like, wrong audience. Like, I'm like, whoa, ouch. But I said, message noted, message received, right? And he was trying to be helpful. But what happened was somebody at least did hear and wanted to connect with me. And that person was in product design. And I was very much heard. And I think it will be, like, whatever. So at least I'm still working at look at me, I'm going to save the day kind of thing. And I think I've gotten much better at it as far as needing the credit. I honestly just want XYZ to be fixed because I can see where there's a big problem where we may be misrepresenting some information, or, you know, it even puts the company at risk. Right. So, but it's easy tweaks that they can turn around because somebody understood my language and where I was coming from. So I'll just add that to.
Yeah. Now that's really good because, you know, effectively you're a solution seeker and you're up in the objective responsive area. So you're not interested in all the pitter patter. You just want to get the job done. So you're in a place of being objective and responsive and observing what to do next to gather information. And that is the leader, that modeling that behavior, even though there's only a few people that get you, it's a powerful thing to emulate. You see, without knowing it, Queen Fidi, you're actually doing what Nick asked about. It's a process and there's no hurrying about it. But your insight is really important because this is the exact process. You know, I will just tell you briefly that the things that frustrate me the most are just like what you were talking about. So, yes, when peace is the priority. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I love the example you came up with because we've spoken about this from business, like you say, and I'm a business owner now just these past few months. But at the beginning of this year, I was still employed. And I remember the first year I started, I had a lot to say and it wasn't very well received. And I would say at that time, my boss then did make a point that it's not the things that you're saying, you know, aren't correct. People are not in a place to listen now, and they aren't ready to receive that. Especially the fact that I came in as a new employee, and because I'm very blunt, I'm like, rah, 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 rah. Like, isn't this logical? And then so I still, over the time working there, got those moments of, I get what you're saying, the timing was wrong, right? And that's my Gemini, ADHD personality, whatever, that I want to burst out and say what's on my mind, right, at that moment, because I feel the passion is so ridiculous that I could feel the heat on the back of my neck. Like
they're not ready. That's the problem. They're not ready.
Right. So I had to learn a couple of things, and it was so hard for me. I would not kid you. A year later, mind you, 90% of what I was talking about came to fruition. The fall happened as a result of not being proactive, right? And we don't have time to change things. We don't have the manpower for that. And I'm like, well, you got to find the time up front because you're wasting 3 times the amount of time doing the process the wrong way, right? And I'm not saying I know the right way. I'm just telling you this process ain't working, right? So it came now full circle at almost 2.5 years I left, right? A year later, we're investing in process. We're writing processes. We're finding ways to do it. Now, yes, it wasn't a time. They weren't at a place to move. But what ended up happening, is at first I felt they killed my passion and who I was, because now I don't want to think out of the box anymore, and I don't want to exhaust myself trying to, right? That only lasted a little while because I can't change who I am at the core. So therefore, I was so glad when I started my business, because I said, you know what, I'm going to turn my energies to running my business. I can't tell somebody else how to run their business. And it came to a point where, okay, some people just have to learn by feeling. And when they feel, it's unfortunate that others around them are going to take the hit too. And that's what happened. The team take the hit, right? And so now you're back at the starting line of you have this vision, but you're not open to hearing anything anybody else had to say, right? So now you have to start all over again now and revisit your idea of team before you can get to where you're going. So I resonate so much with what you were saying. There came a point for me that I was just like, okay, I have to let go. I have to let go because it's not that I don't care, because I do care. It's evident. I show up for work every day. I'm punctual. I'm a team player. I am, meeting my deadlines. And so, what am I really trying to show? This part of me, they already know. They already know I'm out of the box thinker and I'm like a storm. And if they're not ready to stand in the rain with me, then I'm just not going to rain. I'm going to sit there all sunny. And then when I go home, I'll rain. And I let it go. I let it go. I had to, because it started to eat me. Why aren't people listening? And then I realized what Leslie says. If they have their ears closed, why am I wasting my voice?
Well, you never know, though, at what moment they are going to be ready and willing. And so if you withhold that part of you, it may delay their waking up. So I wouldn't, it isn't really,
balance though, because you know what?
Yes.
I was getting hoarse.
Oh, well, that's not necessary.
My energy.
Yes.
Trying to do this.
Yeah, you have to create boundaries and, learn how to deal with people like that, and stay balanced. Absolutely. One thing I will say about what Christine said and what you said, there's a frustration. So, I've been teaching this work for 17 years. I have people who have degrees from university in neuro who collapse the brain and mind together. They know nothing about the mind. Everything is the brain. Now, we know that there is mind, but they're not ready to look at it as two things. Same thing with feelings and emotions. People collapse feelings and emotions together. They don't know yet. That's a huge distinction, right? So and I keep singing the same song over and over and over again, right? But if they're not ready, keep speaking, just monitor your energy. That's what I would say.
I like that part about monitoring your energy. And I like what was said about letting go. And I'm going to also say acceptance, because I was going to drive myself nuts. Like sometimes there's some man I work with who's a lovely person, and I'm like, nobody gets me. Nobody understands. He's like, I understand. He's always
you would be surprised. There are people that understand sometimes, but for various reasons within the workplace, they don't want to explore it and they don't want to speak up.
Usually fear.
What I found.
No, yes, or he'll say, I always find that you're saying something interesting. Like he'll, it'll be flattering in a way, but he'll kind of try to pump me up, like, don't lose hope. Somebody's gonna, latch on to this or that, and you'll win more people over time. But I like the monitoring your energy, and you have to know the right audience and the right time, and so it's this balance, because I don't want to get into the, woe is me, pity me kind of crap. And I still want to maintain, a certain level of positivity, etc. But it's you got to meet people where they're at sometime. And again, like we've been talking about here.
I had to drop two things, Christine. One, I got to a point that little things that I could take on within the parameters and limitations and rules or what the hell ever else, I would just do it. And you know what worked? At the end, they saw the results. That's it. I didn't have to say anything.
Yeah, I think
I didn't have to tell them what my idea was.
Yes.
I just did it. And at the end, when the results happened.
Yeah. So there's that. I've done that. I think that works, Nick. I totally have done that, and that works. But there's also what Leslie said too. Like sometimes you have to say it because somebody's out there. I was in another meeting where again, somebody just pinged me on the side saying we should talk. And, and something developed out of that. And again, it's just, he was more of the doer that was going to make this feature in a product. And he just wanted to pick my brain and create it from that. And I'm like, wow. So you can have an impact on something. And again, of course, I documented for my own records, but it doesn't have to be broadcast to the world. And I don't need, to get a medal or anything like that. I'm just happy. And I do think I work in a place where my voice is heard. It's just not always, not when I want. Sometimes.
And not by everybody.
Yeah.
Right. But I really like the boundary that Nick is talking about. So basically, this model, you see, you're stepping down to their lower level. So you understand that at animal level, they are fight or flight. They are run by fear. And there was something that Charles said here, and I'm not sure, don't feedback because they were. Okay, so I just want to say this about this. Resisting responsibility and clinging to familiar stories are your 6 basic fears that dominate 95% of your thinking. Those are the familiar stories. Those are the stories we have perfect faith in. The problem is, when you listen to those fears, you do not know your level of ability or deservability. So by creating and doing this, what you've effectively done is you've built confidence in your self-image. You see, self-image is based out of fear. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm good enough. So it's about your ability and your deservability. When you do something that you've never done before or you've failed at before, you've disproven that fear. But one time isn't enough. Hence the reason that you continue to do this. And this is really about meeting people where they are so that we don't get sucked in. It's like calculating, okay, where am I in business? Okay, I am certainly between 4, 5, and 6. At any given moment, I'm stepping away from the crowd, I'm disciplined, and I'm doing my job, and there's experience. You're always there in business. So now, you want to be able to step down and meet people where they are to help them, whatever they need help on, without your getting sucked into that reactive, low thinking that they're in. So it's like you have to be objective in the face of subjectivity. And their stories are good. I mean, they are miserable and they are unhappy and they will prove to you how bad this thing is. But that does not affect you. You're just listening to repeat back exactly what you heard. These people at this level in those moments just want someone to get them.
I think it's not always everybody's fault if they're an animal. Whatever.
It's not fault. It's just what it is.
I think in the case that I'm saying, they just lacked the perspective I had because they were in the company for so long and they hadn't been on the outside for the people that were helping and consulting, and they haven't been on that end of it. So they just couldn't. They just can't because it's just harder. I mean, I think it's not impossible. It's just harder.
Yeah.
And it's not anybody's fault.
And it isn't. And look, I can remember what Les Brown, who was the first president of the National Speakers Association, married to Gladys Knight. And he says, he's very funny. He said, here you are on your deathbed and all your dreams are gathered around you, looking down at you saying, we were always here for you. Why didn't you take any of us on? So everybody will, at some point, unfortunately, on their deathbed, they're going to get it. They're going to get, oh my God, I
Yes.
missed all of this. But those people, even if they don't have the same background as
Yes.
you, they still are not ready yet. They're not ready, and we can't make them ready. So I feel the pain.
What I was going to add to that is,
Yeah.
this I felt like this when my mother-in-law was close to death. She apologized to my husband for ABC, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I want that deathbed clarity like now. That's what I want. I would love that deathbed.
Yes.
That's what I want out of life is,
That's what we're doing. That is
yeah.
exactly what we're doing here. Exactly.
I
we
have
gotta
to
hold
go
on.
away, but I'll be in the audience, but I have to prepare for a meeting. So
Yeah, we
You're
just have
great.
10 minutes again, but thank you for coming up because I loved your
you.
share.
Excellent.
And I realized something when I chose to leave. There were a couple of things that were said to me by different team members in private, and then certain realizations I came to in the last few months. One person said to me, "You have impacted so many lives within here you don't realize." Um, and I know part of that from what he and other people had said. I was the only person that would be willing to go toe to toe with the boss, period. I was the only person that was willing to speak up and say things that a lot of people were feeling and or saying behind closed doors. Now, I don't blame those people for those things because as time went on and I left, I realized that it was a couple of things. I used to think that people don't want to rock the boat. What is wrong with them? Right? What it was so many of them had been there much longer than myself, had been there and tried and exhausted themselves, and got to the point where, you know, I'm going to cope as best as I can and continue to do my job to the best of my ability given the situation I am in. Now, they didn't take a defeatist attitude. I am not saying that. They did not quit quietly. I know all these people, amazingly hardworking people, right? But they just got to a point after years of dealing with it, of not choosing to not face that battle every day anymore. I was still new on the scene. I was still facing the battle every day, right? And I refused to let it at the point that it almost erased me because I felt so unheard, right? That I had to find a way to protect myself and still get up and go there every day and do my best because I don't want to compromise me, my values and my integrity. It wasn't about them anymore. So I hit a point where I hit a final straw. And I was fortunate that I had a fallback, which was my business, right? So I could say, I can't fight this battle anymore. In fact, it's not even I can't. I don't want to fight this battle
You
anymore.
chose to stop fighting that battle is the
I
way
chose.
That's right.
Yes, it was no longer important to me. I had to learn that was not something selfish because the initial guilt of walking away from the team, not trying hard enough, not doing enough. You know, what am I? Am I giving up? I stopped. I had took me these past few months to come to terms with that it wasn't selfish, that I put myself above the team.
And your intuition. So here's the thing about your co-creator. You'd been faced with that kind of situation before and you had compromised and for whatever reason, but something was different this time. This is your co-creator. This is the whisper of the universe getting louder than your fear of, well, if I walk out or if I leave, what are people going to think? What am I going to do about money? That wasn't an issue. You had reached a point where your intuition, which is our universe, said enough is enough. And that's how you knew. But you didn't know. At that time, you did not know, and I'll tell you honestly, that your business would blow up like it has. You didn't really know. So you took a risk. But here's the thing. When you have perfect faith in your decision, and that's what you had, Nick, sure, there might have been some regrets, but you had perfect faith. It's not like this was the first time. It's not like like that. This was like, that's it, the straw that broke the camel's back for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the one. It was years of working in different
Absolutely.
companies and different situations. And I'm not blaming any of the companies. That's the place that they were at. Every time I moved on is because I, in my emotional intelligence and awareness, I'm not saying anything to wherever they were. I could no longer be there. It was as simple as that. And every company I moved to, I will tell you, did things differently and, in my perspective, better. And that's why I was able to stay there at the time I stayed there, because they met the level that I was at. So it's me outgrowing them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while you're there, you know, the law of sacrifice says that you have to give up something of lesser value to make room for something of greater value. Had you not done that, you would not have put all these people in books. Like, I mean, all this that you've created would not have been created yet if you were still there. So what you're doing is giving up something that is now of lesser value to make room for something of greater value. And that's exactly what you did. Now, Joni, we're closing in 4 minutes. So I'm happy that you're here, but you have 3 minutes to speak. And I do want to hear from you. However, I want to tell you that we want to close out. So whatever it is, my sweet, unmute yourself and let's hear from you. Got 3 minutes. Beautiful.
Hi. Okay. So from hearing what you guys have said, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people who have come to kind of a crossroads in their life. And it's like, do you really want to come down this road where everyone goes and just like holds their tongue and, you know, acts like a normal person? Or you can normal. That's not my term. Sorry. And then, or you could go down a different road and really be enlightened and kind and educated. And so when Nick says, "Oh, I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy." You're not crazy. That's great. That's so silly.
But I love being this way. When I say I'm crazy, if other people see me that way, I really don't care how you see me, because I do see myself as crazy, as in my crazy, my kind of crazy. And I love it.
Everyone, people who are like, that word is such a, has a lot of guts behind it. But, you know, it's really true that, you know, the people who are unkind or unwilling to shift their perspective, they are the ones who are quote unquote stuck or crazy. I don't want to label anyone, right. But honestly, like I think there is so many people who have so many varying different levels of attention, of creativity, of focus, of empathetic nature, that, you know, it's just a really good conversation that Leslie always presents.
I wish you had joined before. Come up earlier next time, because, you know, like in the workplace, you're kind of limited, right? Because you're within a situation and it's your workplace, right? I wouldn't say by any means that the people on my team chose to bite their tongue or choose to bite their tongue, that team that I was on. What I see is everybody has to come to a point where they decide how much they're willing to deal with in order to have what they have. And they could only answer that by knowing what it is they want to have, right? So if they want the stability of the job and the benefits and everything else, I feel more so the team, each person on that team simply accepts this is the way the boss is, accepts this is the way the company runs, and not in a bad way, but they're willing to accept that. Whereas I was no longer willing to accept it. So therefore but personally, there comes a point where depending on your relationship with that person and how much you care and love them, that you almost have to step away because they can't hear anymore. And now it's damaging to you.
Well, I think also
I was going to say, I don't know what she must have. She's coming back.
Okay, wait till her a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see me?
Okay, finish up. Yeah, you got a minute.
I am sorry. So, but don't you think that as so many people, are just like total rule followers, which is good. That's important sometimes, but like they don't question the rules. And it's like, why don't you question? Like, this is not necessarily the most effective way to grow a business, especially after we've all been through COVID and have lost marriages and have lost a sense of self. And like, it was a hard time for all of us. And so I think, constantly trying to go after those things that make you happy and that like publishing books.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. You.
I'll leave, but thank you.
But Joni, come up earlier.
Yeah,
there are people who run live. There are people who run lives that go over by a half hour, an hour. I'm not going to do that. In fact, we'll cut it back.
I can't, because at an hour and a half, my coffee needs the bathroom.
I need one more coffee, so that I do.
Thank you.
But actually, my computer's internet was a good 15 minutes before I could get on this. So it's something going on. But anyways, I love you, girls. And anyone out there listening, just, put one element of joy in your life today.
That's right.
One. And not online. Not online. Go outside.
Yes.
Thank you, Joni.
Have a great week.
Joni. All right. So today, as we finish up, I think, Nick, you've shared a lot of phenomenal things. I think the thing today to remember is that it's really about service to others. As we learn to do this, look at this, like many complacent rule followers are not authentic. Well, you know what? That's true, Lay.
No more comments, because we'll be here for like forever. But I love this show because so much comes out of it. I just have to say, I am so thankful for you inviting me, because it does put me very back into alignment for the week. Because and I'm going to do my post today, and that's what I'm actually putting. Do you realign yourself at the start of each week? Because the weeks can just keep rolling into one another, right?
That's right.
And we realigning ourselves? And with that, part of that alignment is sticking to time frames. It is.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well, that being said, remember that this is about serving others. Okay. And it's about the practice of remembering where you are and how you can make a difference. And it's all based on, hey, Mariana, thank you. It's all based on your level of emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, depending on the area that you're in. So it's a really effective visual tool. And my intention and our intention is that you see yourself moving up the ladder from subjective and reactive and emotional to responsive and objective and feeling. Yeah, Nick, what do you think? You good?
I am good. Thank you so much, guys, and always for making me feel so welcome. I know I've been here a while, but I still feel as if I have crashed the party. So thank you so much.
No. It's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. And as we go out today, Make it a beautiful week. We'll come back next week with something else that will delight you. I have all sorts of concepts and diagrams that we can dig into. It's so much fun. So on the way out, I'll sing that 50s song for you. Thank you, every single one of you, for being here. This is so much fun. It really is. So here we go. Go have a great day. Gee, it's great after being out late, walking my baby back home. Arm in arm over meadow and farm, walking my baby back home. And we go along harmonizing a song, or I'm reciting a poem. Owls go by and they give me the eye, walking my baby back home. We stop for a while, you give me a smile and snuggle your head to my chest. We started to pet, and that's when I get your powder all over my vest. After I kind of straighten my tie, you have to borrow my comb. One kiss, then I'll continue again, walking my baby back home. Little musical interlude. She's afraid of the dark, so I'll have to park outside of her door till it's light. She says if I try to kiss her, she'll cry. I dried her tears all through the night. Hand in hand to a barbecue stand, right from her doorway we roam. Eat some, then it's a pleasure again, walking my baby, talking my baby, loving my baby. I don't mean maybe, walking my baby back home. See you all next week.